Hello and welcome back to the Slam Pod. We've had a little week hiatus there, lads, but we're all dissertation free, so we're good to go. Ollie, let's dive straight into it with Chelsea. The failed European run that you've been going on about seems to have finally come to an end.
Well, it's come to an end, 4-0 in aggregate. It's just the same old story week in, week out at Chelsea. We play well, we were all right. I say for 60 minutes of last night's game, we were the better team. Like, we were controlling the ball. And it was 2 breakaway goals, really, for Real Madrid that won in the game. But it's just not good enough. We can't take our chances. We've got no number 9. The number 9s we do have aren't good enough, or they're injured, or they're out on loan to Inter Milan. It's just not good enough, really, from a Chelsea point of view. So many people last night have come out saying it's not good enough. Drogba said it; he doesn't even recognise Chelsea anymore. Like, it's just one thing after another at the moment, Chelsea, isn't it?
Who's that out on loan? Giroud? No.
Romelu Lukaku. He's on loan.
He's on loan?
He's on loan, yeah. He's on loan. He's got 3 years left on his contract at 340 grand a week.
Is he really?
Yeah. He'll be back at Chelsea on the 30th of June. Inter Milan have said that he's definitely coming back to Chelsea. He hasn't been that good for them this season. He scored 1 goal in open play in the Serie A all season. The rest have been penalties, and that was in his second home debut. So yeah, he's still out on loan.
That's
and the owners have said, yeah.
I feel like he hasn't been in the Prem in ages as well.
Well, he wasn't playing a lot under Tuchel because him and Tuchel didn't get on. That's all. So that's why it seems like he hasn't played since he scored 2 goals against Arsenal in his debut.
When you say like you need a centre forward as well, do you think it could be the case that he has to be the answer with like your sort of the FFP?
I don't think he has to be the answer because
can you sign anyone?
If we can get someone to buy him, I think they'll take that in a second because 340 grand, he's our most played player and he doesn't even play for us.
That's true because you need to offload, don't you?
We need to sell quite a few players, and ideally before June 30th because that's the tax cut-off. And so we've got about 2 weeks in the deadline from the start of the transfer window to shift off as many players as we can to make our books balance, basically. And so if that's Lukaku, if they get an offer for like 50 million for Lukaku, they'll probably bite the person's arm off because he's been injured all season, he's barely scored, and he's on outrageous wages.
Do you not rate him doing a job for you in terms
I genuinely think he could.
The amount of chances you create.
Yeah.
If you gave Lukaku them chances, he's going to score.
One of the reasons he didn't work out with him was because Tuchel was there, and because we'd won the Champions League the season before, he'd come into a side that already had quite a firm ideology of how they play. But this team, it needs an answer. It needs a lightning rod for someone to just be like, all right, I'm going to be the focal point. You guys just get me the ball. And this team can do that for someone. Whether Lukaku is actually the answer or he's just an option, I don't know.
Well, and Nkunku's coming as well, isn't he?
And Nkunku's coming, but again, he's not a striker. He's another one that wants to play off a striker or have a striker playing around him.
It's mad that with Lukaku because I remember that Arsenal game when he made his debut, and I thought he's going to tear this league to pieces.
Yeah,
I was like, he's just going to come back and cause riot. But it just didn't work, did it?
It didn't work. I think a lot of it was Tuchel.
Remember, he had he got loads of grief, didn't he, for sort of being overweight and the wrong body shape, and his fitness wasn't there. And then when he went to Milan,
as well.
Didn't some dietitian at Milan sort of revolutionise his game, and they found out he had a thyroid thing or something like that?
That's the thing. The weight criticisms was more of a United thing rather than his second spell at Chelsea. Because his second spell at Chelsea, he was off a Scudetto winning campaign with Inter Milan, where he was just destroying it. And he came back. He seemed really fit and really strong, and he just couldn't find his way into this Chelsea team. And then he did an interview with Sky Italia, where he was like, I really miss Inter Milan. Don't really want to be here, and that just messed everything up. I mean, it was already pretty messed up, the relationship between Tuchel and Lukaku, but that kind of crystallised it.
Why do footballers do those interviews? Like Ronaldo did it as well.
It's only the ones.
Only bad things are going to happen.
I know.
Only bad things are going to happen from it.
It's slightly different for Ronaldo, isn't it, in terms of he knows that he's going to be okay on the back of it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas,
I suppose.
Well, Lukaku is still one of the best number 9s in Europe in the last decade. He's been one of the most consistent goal scorers.
I'd give him another go. I
was going to ask, would you want him at United? Because
United.
If Chelsea get offered a price for him and the wages off our books, he's probably there for about 50
shout
minutes.
Actually, would you go in for him if he was available?
I don't think we would because we've been there already, and I don't think they'd take the risk on it not working again. But on the cheap,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be dead against it, to be honest. Yeah,
there.
well, that's the thing.
He's better than Valvegost, isn't he?
Yeah,
At the end of the day, so.
Exactly. He's one of those that if you just create chances for him, he'll score loads.
Goals. He's a savage player.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like to see him back having a good go at it.
I'd like Chelsea to have a go at him.
To be fair.
The owners have said they're like anything could happen with Lukaku, so they're not against him starting for Chelsea next season. And I think a lot of managers would rather a squad with Lukaku in it than without Lukaku. Maybe
That's
not personality-wise, but on the field.
In his favour with Chelsea, he's got, obviously, you can have a new manager coming in for pre-season prior to next season. So he's going to have that opportunity to come in with a clean sheet, force his way into the manager's plans. If he has like a really, really good pre-season, he looks smart, he's on it, and the manager goes, actually, we can work with this. And then instead of splashing out for a centre forward that might pretty much break the bank, you've got him there, and you can spend elsewhere. But I mean, I don't think you're going to be spending a lot going forward. To be honest,
I don't think we can if we want to keep within the guidelines. Like, we need to offer...
Does that matter anymore, though, by the way? Like, do you have to stay in financial fair play guidelines? Nothing seems to happen to anyone.
It doesn't seem to happen, but then at the same time, Chelsea got a transfer ban for like a year. So it has happened, and like Everton might get hit with a points deduction. It takes a while before it does, especially when you're a massive team. But it still has happened in the past. We've been penalised.
Couldn't City win the Champions League this year while being under investigation?
Domestically, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like
how is that fair? Do you know what I mean? How is that fair?
Literally. I don't know. How's it fair? United operate with all the debts they've got. And
they could win the league this season. City could win the Premier League this season. If you're Arsenal this season and they end up, obviously we'll come on to that later, but if they end up losing it to City and City win it, and then they've found that the last 10 years they've been breaking domestic fair play rules,
what happens then?
How is that okay?
Yeah. What happens then?
So what your season now?
I mean, it's just trying to keep the passion alive at Stamford Bridge, I think. Frank doesn't want to take the foot off the gas. We can't really. I mean, we haven't won on the Frank yet. We've got a lot of really tough games coming up. I think our only winnable games are Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. Even then, I'm still very nervous of those.
They're banana skins now, aren't they? Yeah. The later it gets to the end of the season, they're the type of teams that just anything can happen. Do you know?
I mean, we've got Brentford next Wednesday, tough game. We've got City up to play, Arsenal still to play, Newcastle in the last game of the season. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy at all. But I'm just looking for next season now. This season's been a write-off. We had the Champions League to kind of keep us going, but it's just not. It's not worked.
Bit of an up and down week for us, to be fair. Obviously, we battered Leeds, but the Bellingham thing was a little bit of a heartbreak, although I think there's more to it.
No Jude Bellingham.
Liverpool out the race for Jude Bellingham is the headline.
So you've got a couple of theories.
So I have sort of a two-pronged theory.
Someone get the tin hats out. Come on, there you go.
And this is so. I don't even think this is that conspiracy theory based. I honestly, I don't. I look at it in terms of the journalists that sort of broke the story. A lots of the sort of reliable Liverpool on the patch journalists that are close to the club and get sort of first prevalence on the stories and that sort of thing. This exact thing has been put out prior to 4 or 5 big marquee transfers that we've made.
Van Dijk and Keita,
Keita, Thiago, Van Dijk, the exact same story by the exact same journalists come out. Liverpool out the race to sign. It's Liverpool 101.
Okay.
But this is where I look at it. Is if that's come from the club, from Liverpool, that we're out the race to sign Bellingham, and it's their genuine intention that they're out the race to sign him, there is not a single benefit to Liverpool of them revealing that now at this time. There isn't one single upside to them doing that. There's no reason why they do that. If anything, it makes it harder for them to achieve what they're saying they're going to achieve, which is we're not going to sign Jude because we want to sign 3 or 4 other players. If you reveal that story, all those other clubs, and we're talking the likes of Moses Caicedo, Alexis McAllister, Mount, Rice, the selling clubs for them players now know exactly what your situation is. Do you know your price limit? So they know if you're out to buy 3 or 4, they know they're going to push you. They know your situation.
Yeah, why would you give away your game plan?
You wouldn't.
Would you?
So what I think is it's one or two things. Is it's come from Dortmund initially, and they've received an offer from Liverpool, which it was reported like an hour before they were out the race. Liverpool have lowballed it, and Dortmund have gone, nope, which obviously they would. And they've put it out the race because it was also reported that Madrid have cooled their interest. And the reason why I can believe that Madrid have sort of cooled their interest is because their midfield situation is a lot different to Liverpool's. To spend the money that it would require to sign Bellingham at the minute for Madrid, it's less of a priority for them in terms of they're pretty stacked. They got too many last season. You've still got Modric. You've still got Kroos.
They're not exactly young players in their prime, though, are
no,
they?
but Kroos is about to sign a new contract. You've got Valverde, Ceballos. Madrid are quite stacked in terms of.
Dani Ceballos in this.
So, like, my point is, Real Madrid. It's more believable to them the cool and they're interesting because Liverpool's situation is more desperate in that side of the park. So we know they're out the race, or apparently. So if Dortmund are looking at the situation, Liverpool and City. Liverpool have lowballed the offer. The story goes out, now they're out the race. So it drives that price up, incites a bidding war between any other parties that are still interested. Theory 2, which is the one I'm more leaning towards, is that Liverpool have some reason to believe that the player is keen or at least interested in the move, right? They have a reason to believe that Bellingham fancies it. They've lowballed the offer again, and it's instantly been fucked off by Dortmund because it's way undervaluation. Liverpool for some reason are aware that his head's turned and he's gone, So they've gone, right, we're moving on. And it's risky, definitely, and they've gone, right, we're moving on, we're out the race, done. So what happens then is obviously it's Liverpool have come in, Dortmund have said no. Bellingham's like, hang on. Like, hang on, can you, like, where's the
I don't think he is. I think he's got enough suitors. I think he's all right on that one, to be fair.
But this is, and the player becomes even slightly unsettled, and then another club comes in for him, and Liverpool will come back in for him. And then once it gets to a point where there's a bit of a stalemate, another club's going to lowball them, matching offers. They say to Jude, where do you want to go? And he picks, right? But Roman Weidenfeller, the ex-Dortmund, he's a bit of a club legend at Dortmund. He was saying literally on Sky Germany last night, Liverpool will come back in for him. And I think there's a third possibility in which Dortmund and Jude have come to an arrangement in which you actually said something about this a few weeks ago, and I was like, no chance, no. But I think
I don't know why you were so quick to write that off.
I think Dortmund have possibly said, or Liverpool have come to an understanding that they can get him for a certain price if he signs a new contract with Dortmund, stays another season with a clause that lets Jude sort of pick where he wants to go. And if that's the case, I think we'd go back in for him next summer. But
so you're going to waste another season with no midfield?
Because
here's my thing with this Bellingham saga, is they've come out and said that it's too much money. Like, Dortmund are going to offer 150 mil, and they're going to get that. City or Madrid will offer big money.
I don't think
because
Madrid
here's
will.
the other thing with Madrid.
I don't think Madrid will.
They're in a position where they can afford to spend a lot of money on one player because they're very good. But they clearly need improvements because they want to win the league, and they're not winning the league. So I think Bellingham is a player they love. They love a young English player who's going to bring in merchandise from that side. And my other thing is, Liverpool need 3 or 4 players. They don't need to spend 150 million on the very best. They need 3 or 4 good quality players to come and improve this team.
See, this is another thing that all of the FSG out brigades of Liverpool, and don't get me wrong, I'm very critical of our owners in the spending situation. I don't think we need, having thought about it a bit more, I don't think it is a rebuild that we need at all. As I've said last week as well, it's the same team that nearly won everything last season. They haven't instantly gone shit. They need players to relieve the pressure on certain positions. I don't think we need a rebuild.
You need a lot. You need a new midfield.
I think we perfectly...
You need a new midfield.
I don't think we do. I actually don't think we do. I actually think we need...
If you don't need it this year, you're going to need it a lot next year because these players haven't instantly got shit, but they have got another year older and they'll get another year older onto that.
And that's fine if there's players to relieve them so they don't have to start every week. And I think you can perfectly relieve that with a big marquee signing and a big marquee signing. Instead of going out and getting four
but how much is 2 big
players.
Marquee signings? Because Bellingham's going to be at least 120 million.
I'd do it.
I don't see Liverpool spending that on Bellingham. I think you're better off getting a Casado who's going to relieve a lot of defensive pressure off the back
I
line.
think we could easily sign 2 bods in the midfield this season, including Bellingham, for whatever we budgeted for this. But by the way, this is why fans are rightly extremely annoyed, and it's another reason why I don't think the club means what's come out, because the sheer PR backlash of the fans, which is justified. They've budgeted for this signing for so long.
Budgeted how? They spent like 80 million on a striker last year. They spent another 30 million on a striker.
We did it because it's like we paid like next to nothing up front. There's so like
you still got to pay it though. It's still on your books.
Yeah, 100%. But the reason Liverpool haven't the midfield's been neglected is because it's 100% they've been setting up to go in for Bellingham, and that's why fans are fuming that now you're not going to sign Bellingham.
I still don't think Bellingham's going to arrive at Liverpool.
I think they could 100% justify, even if it's not Bellingham, right? They could 100% justify a
big signing, sure, but Bellingham is completely different to the rest of the midfield.
Well, what's Rice going to cost then, if you want it realistically?
Not as much, nowhere near as much as Bellingham.
Oh,
I think he is. I think he is. I think he's.
I don't think he would, because I don't think a lot of clubs are really looking at Rice anymore. I think Arsenal was kind of set to get.
See, this is
the price he means to West Ham, though.
That's it.
I think West Ham would be asking.
It's his worth to West Ham as the selling club.
West Ham don't have this massive bidding war on their shoulders that Dortmund have.
I completely think they do. I think it's just that the media attention is all on Bellingham. I think Rice is as in demand as he was.
I've seen a lot more media attention on Rice this year because of the Arsenal move looks so likely, because Man United look all right now, they don't really need him. Chelsea look all right now. I think Liverpool and Arsenal are the only big clubs that really need that kind of midfielder, and I don't think Liverpool are that interested in Rice either. I think they're better off looking at Casado.
I'd love Moses Caicedo. I think he'd be an absolute.
I think he's incredible.
He's an incredible player. Same with Alexis McAllister. I'd take either of them. I just think that I honestly don't think it's this summer we need to rebuild the squad. I think we can do that over 2 years. I think as long as we invest wisely this summer and buy quality, I think it can be done over 2 years. Thiago, when he's not injured, is still fantastic. And it's with the rotation. Like at the minute, we're relying on Curtis Jones to come in and do a job. And like, to be fair to him, the last 2 games he's been really, really good. But if we had that quality there, one or two quality players that could fit in that midfield, and then next year you do it again. I look at it. Tottenham Hotspur are the prime example of let's buy 5 or 6 cheaper players to fix the issue. It doesn't work. We demonstrated how sometimes you need to just go for it. When we bought Alisson and Van Dijk, all right, we'd sold Coutinho to pay for it. We bought Alisson and Van Dijk. Van Dijk was probably the best centre half in the league at Southampton when we bought him. Alisson was fantastic at Roma. We bought the pair of them as established world-class players, and straight away the success came. I think there's a lot to be said for like smart buy. Is it really worth? I genuinely think we are in a position to do that.
Buying, and I don't think Bellingham is that smart buying, because I think that's going to take up most of your transfer budget.
I genuinely think it's fine. I don't think Liverpool are, in terms of signings, are in need of the complete rebuild that people think they are.
There's so many teams around improving. I think Liverpool need to improve, and I think your midfield is too weak, it's too old, it's too aged. You're getting too many injuries. I think even up top, Jota and Diaz haven't really worked this season. Another thing, I think
Diaz has been injured all season.
Yeah, well, that's my point.
Jota's finally getting a bit of fitness, and he was absolutely fantastic at the weekend.
I still think this Liverpool team needs some improvements. I think their midfield is lacking a lot.
I think they need improvements, but I think the reason the midfield's been exposed is because they have to play every game.
They're going to still have to play every game.
Two quality signings, you relieve a lot of that pressure straight away.
You keep James Milner. You still want him around that first team midfield.
I would not playing. I'd give Milner another contract. Yeah, for a season.
Not to play.
100%. Just if anything, to sort of stage a passing of the torch, to encourage.
I think the torch has gone out, mate. To be honest.
100%. I'd give Milner a new contract. And this is. Once this goes out, if any of we put clips on TikTok, I will get so much shit from like Twitter Liverpool fans over this because you saw up FSG's ass, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, that's all you see on Twitter. As soon as you suggest, hang on, like there might actually be a little bit of logic behind the way certain things are done. It's like, nah, you're public enemy number one.
So Trent played a slightly different role against Arsenal.
He did it against Arsenal and Leeds. There's a bit of a misconception that he's in the midfield, that he's playing as a midfielder, which, was it like 2 episodes ago, you actually asked me, didn't you?
Yeah.
What happened to the argument of Trent in midfield? Yeah. So the misconception is he's playing as a midfielder. He isn't. He's playing as an inverted right back.
He's more.
An
He's
inverted
in
fullback.
the midfield though.
So in possession of the ball,
build-up.
you go
He's
central
in
in the
the
build-up.
midfield.
That's what it is. Rather than staying out wide, you come central with the ball and play forward from the central areas. So as soon as he started doing it against Arsenal, you were like, hang on, it's good this. And then like as he got forward as he usually does, he absolutely tore Zinchenko a new one to set Firmino up for the goal. And his passing against Leeds was phenomenal. As he come in centrally, and I don't think he can play as a central midfielder. I think that's why he's in this new fullback role, if you like. I think it's because it's a completely different game being a central midfielder, but the license that he's got to come central, and he was sort of playing. Konate would stretch the back four into a back three, and he was fantastic as well. He had the absolute howler for the Leeds goal, but he was solid for the rest of the match. He sort of stretch wide, and he'd play like sort of 1-2s with Trent from either side of the centre halves, and then he'd just play forwards from this sort of deep, even like a number 6 sort of area, and it was just brilliant. And obviously there was loads of comments like, "That's our new midfielder, sign a right back." And
I feel like it's worth a little try. Maybe not signing a right back, but he's clearly so much better in that kind of midfield area on the ball.
I think
that you need him there because he's such a threat.
I think
when
it's
he's played in that
ideal
role.
how the role the last 2 games that we've seen, where he's still a fullback and he can still put the supply from out wide, but he's got license to come central with the ball. I like that. I wouldn't want him central the whole game because his delivery from out wide is just too valuable.
Yeah. But you can be in midfield and still come out wide a lot.
But I just think...
I just don't trust... Like, Guardiola did this a couple of times, where he tried that inverted fullback, and it just made them seem so much more vulnerable. And I just don't know... Like, Arsenal are obviously a very good side, but if you're playing against, like, in Champions League, do you really want your right back in the midfield most of the time? It's gonna leave you vulnerable.
See, this is it. This is where, like...
Konate
and Van Dijk will need to just... Konate and Van Dijk will step up, and I think we're going in for I think he's the South Korean centre half from Napoli.
Kim Min-jae.
Yeah, he's got
unreal.
his release clause is a no-brainer. Like before he's
I think any club in Europe would take him
on. And I think obviously the centre halves probably be a lot more exposed when your right back is in this, like playing as a number 6 basically. But I think it's like the system. Every time we've it looked phenomenal in them last 2 games against Arsenal. It just as soon as Klopp made that switch, Arsenal crumbled. Like we were all over them again and again and again. But even against Leeds, to be fair, the entire team, the forwards, the pressing. Have you seen the clip of like the 89th minute where like Darwin chases right back into the halfway line? 4 players the gegenpress was back, and it's like the first time I've seen it all season. Everyone was just press. I think it's like the 89th minute. The camera cuts to Klopp, and he's literally on the bench, and he goes,
"Yeah, I've seen that."
Just because it was just amazing. And our forward options, I love at the minute, but I'm just really intrigued by this new system. And I think the defensive side of it we'll see more of going forward.
Yeah.
But if it works, it works. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's going to be interesting to see how Trent plays next season, because for all like your backing, the holes in his defensive game are immense. But if you're really getting pressured by a top team, he can't handle the defensive responsibilities.
If this can accommodate that, then this can accommodate that.
If it can accommodate that, that's beautiful.
And it's fine. In a similar way to how
it's Trent. But
they almost actually went into a 3-2-5 was the formation change. It was mad, and as I say, like if it's a case of score 5, concede 3, but you win every game,
Say that, wouldn't you?
I'm okay with that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
do you reckon you get top 4?
I think 4's too much. I think we can probably get 5th. It's going to be hard.
I mean, so many teams around you in such good form.
We finish 5th and City win the Champions League. Do we get Champions League football?
I don't think so. I think it's just the top 4.
Yeah.
Do they qualify as the Champions League winners then?
I think
they qualify as
something else that happens. It's like
I think it's if you win and you're not in the top 4, you still qualify. But if you win and you're in the top 4, it's just the top 4.
It's just the top 4 still.
It's mad because those results at the weekend, great results for United, Newcastle losing, Spurs losing. I was just thinking, it's going to let Liverpool back in. Yeah. I was thinking more of that than the positive for United.
All them results, that's all I could think is, hang on, everyone we needed to drop points.
The thing is, though, I think Villa are more likely to sneak in than you right now. They're on such a tear.
I think we, form-wise, we could be. That comeback against Arsenal was
the comeback against Arsenal was nice, but West Ham did the same thing, like 5 days later, and Leeds are not a very good side.
Obviously, we've got to be realistic in terms of...
I don't know if you knew this. Shay had a little natter to me before the Liverpool-Leeds game.
You grass.
What's he said here? What has he said?
I've just got a feeling that Leeds are going to do Liverpool tonight. I'm feeling 3-1 Leeds tonight.
I was sat at home and I was looking at the game and I was thinking, Ellen Road would be up for this. Liverpool a bit shaky. Leeds need points in the form.
The same Ellen Road that they lost 5-1 in.
I said, do you know how bad Leeds are right now? I don't know where this came from.
That's an outrageous shout.
They need points. I was like, they need points. I was like, I sent a quick message to Ollie in case they did do you. I was like, so I could bring this up in the pod and say,
let's have him.
I knew this, but it's fucking just grasped me.
No, they absolutely played them.
That's because the audacity of that shout.
I know, but I just thought, I don't know. I got, last pod I got the Liverpool Chelsea game bang on.
You did.
So I thought, fuck it, something in the air.
I will admit as well, though, I did have Forest to beat United.
Did you?
Yeah, just because Forest's home record is actually very impressive. And United, they looked a little bit weak. They had quite a few injuries.
Yeah, I thought we'd struggle more than we did, to be fair.
Yeah, let's move on to United, because it's been an odd week. You beat Forest, even though you've lost your 2 main centre-backs.
Yeah.
But the fumble against Seville, I mean, what happened there?
It was a real mad game. They offered nothing. They didn't do anything all game. Even the 2 goals they got were own goals.
Both own goals, yeah.
It was a freak game. The fact Varane went down, I think it was 10 minutes into the second half. Then obviously Martinez, we'd already made 5 subs. So we're playing with 10 men for the last 10 minutes. They get a goal straight after that. I think it was just before that. And then, so we're playing with 10 men. It was just a real freak game. But to be honest, a lot of United fans are worried. I think we'll do him in Seville. Unless a totally different Sevilla team comes out. That they offered nothing all game.
Yeah, absolutely, you should be able to do it. As long as you don't decide to just be like, this is too easy.
Yeah.
And they've not had a shot on target. Well, they still didn't have a shot on target after they scored, did they? Really?
Yeah, it was, honestly, such a...
Until the first goal, they'd done nothing.
Yeah, they'd done absolutely nothing. And, and to be honest, I was a bit in dark and in the, gutted when Martinez obviously went off, because he's such an important player to us. But then the Nottingham Forest game gave me hope, because I'm thinking, we've still got quality players in there. And that midfield, Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, unbelievable. Like anyone that doesn't rate Bruno Fernandes, I challenge him to watch that game and not rate him.
Well, since he's come to United, I think only Lionel Messi's got more goals and assists in Europe, which is crazy.
The thing is, this season's probably been one of his best seasons. He's had bad moments, obviously, but
I think that's just because it's one of the team's best seasons.
Yeah, that as well. We've had ups and downs, and he's had ups and downs, but like consistently, he's not quite getting the numbers he did, but just his all-round play. Like that is the one worry I've got, because we are going to miss him on Thursday, and we never play without him, because he never gets injured.
Is Casemiro still a yellow card off suspension?
No, because I think it gets wiped in the semis.
Right.
So
okay.
If I think so, I don't think it's
wiped in the semis. I don't know, in the Champions League it doesn't. You're still we had loads of players on yellow cards going into the first leg against Real.
Yeah, but that's the quarters, isn't it? So.
Oh, true. So
it's a different round.
You still got to get past Seville, mate.
Yeah,
it's their game as well, isn't it? They absolutely love the Europa League.
This is the one thing I'm thinking. It's like, oh god, it's just so them just to win a tie that they just didn't deserve to win. And
they did us in the Europa League final in 2016, I think. Yeah. Just like, it's just their territory.
I know, but I remember thinking it 2-0 up 70 minutes. I was like, I'm gutted here, only taking a 2-0 lead to Spain. It was honestly, we're just all over them. But I'm still confident going into it.
What about the FA Cup semi-final now? Because Brighton are one of the best teams in England right now.
I'm less confident about that.
You're no longer the bookies' favourite to be in the final anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it's been changed, yeah. Brighton are now the favourites to go through.
That surprised me, to be fair. I think it could depend on... I think Rashford and Shaw might feature tomorrow off the bench and maybe fit to start.
I think Rashford is... I think they're all training again.
Yeah.
I think Rashford is supposed to be back.
What happens with that could decide it, because I think obviously Brighton are a brilliant team. So I think it'd be a good game. I think obviously we'll go for it. They'll go for it. I can see it being an entertaining game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is pretty 50-50, to be fair. So I think
it's close, but I think depending on the form of Maguire and Lindelof, it could be a real.
But,
Because Evan Ferguson's going to have a laugh.
Hey, he went off injured against you,
Yeah, he did.
He's missing it.
Do you know what's odd about that? Is Welbeck came on, and when they announced it on the thing, they always say Evan Ferguson off, Danny Welbeck on. They said Cody Gakpo was coming on. Even the board is a mess at the moment. The whole club is just a state. And on the programme last night, it said we were playing Brentford in Brentford. We're not. So much wrong at the moment at Chelsea.
When Evan Ferguson went off injured as well, just a testament to how well run Brighton are. Did you see how fucking stacked the physios were?
Yeah.
Mate, they were like two absolute monsters.
They were so fast as well. I was like, can they go on front for us?
Why do the physios need to be that?
Why, yeah?
They've got something going on in Brighton, haven't they? They're ahead of the curve.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's in the water down there.
Just to revisit as well, as you've just said, it depends on Maguire's form.
Yeah.
So I had I sort of repeated a conversation that you and me had the other day with another Man United fan.
Oh, go
on. Big Lewis. And I said, just to throw a curveball in the works, really. Chris Smalling, again, is out in Roma, doing okay the last 18 months, and I think he's been unlucky not to get an England call-up. And I said to you last episode, do you think Maguire's better than Chris Smalling? And you said, yeah, defo. So I presented the same argument to Lewis, and he said, I can't see a way back for Maguire at Man United now. I think the club need to offload him. Yeah. I think it's not worked. It's time to admit it's not worked. And that Chris Smalling is levels above him. And that
that's too far. Then.
Maguire also moves like he's got kilogram weights tied to his hip.
He's nowhere near as bad as Smalling. He's nowhere. It's that thing when you think about things in the past and you look upon it with better
agree.
eyes.
Smalling is not on the level of Maguire.
Smalling was not a good footballer. Like a good defender, solid defender, but he's not a United centre back. I agree with the first bit though. I agree with the first bit. I think it could be time for Maguire to move on, just for himself, and for United. Obviously, he's got two quality centre halves in front of him now. It's going to be hard to get back in the team. He's going to want to keep his England spot.
Seems like he's going to keep that as long as
Southgate
anyway.
But if Southgate gets sacked, that's under threat. I think so. And he'll know that. So I think it's one of them. I think if he'll go to somewhere like Leicester or somewhere like that and do really well. I think he's a good, solid centre half. And
he's a back three centre half, isn't he? He always has been, realistically.
But the thing is, he did well. And you know what? I saw a really mad thing the other day, and it was a tweet from 2021. First season he came to United, I think. And it was like, who's the top 5 centre backs in the world? And the amount of like neutral accounts that had Maguire, like normally 4th or 5th.
Yeah, that's because he just became the most expensive centre back.
Is this just after he signed, or when he just at Leicester?
No, this was well into his first season at United, and there was a point when we got to Europa League final and lost. Maguire was injured for it, and everyone said we lost because Maguire was injured. And it's mad to think
there's clearly a great centre back in there.
That was 2 years ago, yeah.
There's a reason they spent 80 million on it at the end of the day, isn't there? But
exactly. I agree. It's not quite worked. I think it's time to probably move on.
Yeah.
I think,
and if you can replace with Kim Man Jake, that would be. I mean, that's great.
He's going to be so into Mans. That lad is just a no-brainer. Your ownership situation at the minute as well. Someone's pulled a bid out, haven't they? They've dropped out.
The Finnish billionaire his bid was never going to work. It was all about incorporating the fans. And
was that you were telling me about this? The fellow was going to have as a vote for everyone.
And it was. It always seemed like it just wanted the publicity from it for me. It never seemed like a serious offer. But the Glazers, I'm so sick of them. I think this whole process of them selling the club, showcases exactly what they are. Yeah. Just classless. Just the fact that they're sending it to a third round of bidding. It's just like all the people in the business world go, you just don't do that. It's things you don't do. And it's so obvious that there's such a cloud over it with what they truly want. And there's rumours the last few days that there's a American hedge fund that are going to put a minority stake into the club, which is just going to basically give them money so they don't have to spend anything. And it's exactly what they want, and I can see it happening now, which is a real shame, because I was really looking forward to them coming with a pinch of salt as well, because I thought it could lead to obviously a Qatari state ownership, which I'm not for at all. But it's just most United fans just really want to see the back of them, and there's already planned protests for the end of the month. with like not none of this Twitter protest shit that just never gets done. Like the proper like fan groups, fan groups are getting behind it. And I think if they announced it'd stay, it'd get really ugly.
nasty.
Yeah, I think it could. Which
it's annoying though, isn't it, when it turns to these ownership protests? Because you and me were having a conversation about this in the car, and it's similar to how like you got these Twitter protesters, like the FSG ones that you see organised on Twitter. You drive past the pubs where they're supposed to be. There's no one there because these people have never been to the ground.
99% of them aren't from Liverpool, aren't from Manchester, aren't from London.
But then you get the other sides of it, that when you have the proper protesters with the substance to the message and turn up. But it's annoying, isn't it? But when we said about you can't go to these anti-ownership protests and have 3 grown fellas all wearing that season's brand new home shirt stood there. But you need, like the way you worded it was, Boss, you need the knobheads to vocalise the logic opinion of the people who actually know what they're arguing for. You need these hangers on to be there to apply the numbers to it, but then it almost ruins your argument because they're knobheads.
It's a tough one, and obviously I went to the it was mainly a Super League and anti-Glazer protest. I think it was a couple of years ago now, and you'd see like people with anti-Glazer scarves with brand new shirts on, and it's like you obviously don't get it at all. But like you said, you can't. There's unfortunately there's not enough sensible people in the world to be able to change stuff with just them. You almost need a group. And obviously the Super League thing ignited this anti-Glazer thing that's been there for years, and it created a big like even the people that only had a passive interest in football were like, oh, we hate this, and it just created that, and that's how you get change. So, you know, you do need him, but obviously,
do you think you're getting to a point as well as the United fan base as a whole? If it was a case of, obviously it's more complicated than that in reality, but if it was a case of going into next season or the next year, it's either the Glazers still own the club, or it's state funded from anywhere, Qatar, the Qatari bids, etc. If it was that or the Glazers, do you think a lot of your fans would say, in fact, we'll take the oil money?
Well, obviously, Twitter, 100%. Is the actual fans that you speak to, it's hard. I don't think anyone's obviously for Qatari state, but I think some people are so dead against the Glazers that they almost don't care what the alternative is.
Plus, you've seen how well it can work. Like Manchester City have dominated English football because of oil money.
It comes with an asterisk.
It does come with an asterisk, yeah, but if you're just focused on your club winning on the pitch, then
that's it.
The oil money.
It's how I see Newcastle now. It's great for Newcastle fans. They're going to have a lot of fun on the journey they're about to go on. The club hasn't been as good as it should be for a long time. They're going to love it. But I don't look at this takeover as Newcastle and them suddenly challenging for top 4 as this amazing fairy tale story. I think it's a load of bollocks that almost sort of ruins the fabric of the game.
And I'd always say as well that it's obviously never the fans' fault because they have no control over who owns the club. Really, you know, it's never their fault. But it's always the fans that go that step further and defend, you know, these states that do horrific things to people. And it's like you don't have to do that. You can enjoy the success, but still be critical of that. You don't have to. It's not like it's one or the other. And obviously City as well. Like I know a lot of City fans that are like our owners are awful, but you know enjoy it. And I'm like, yeah, fairs. It's nothing to do with that.
You can't stop that.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the one thing I'd say, that it's just you always have to be. You don't have to be complicit to what they do because they own your club. You know, you can still support your club without supporting your owners. It's an easy thing to do.
And the Glazers would be aware of that as well, won't they? That it's a rock and a hard place, isn't it?
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And I almost think that it sums up their short-termism, because they might have released this. Oh, we're thinking about selling the club to maybe get a little bit of pressure off them. Not thinking, well, hang on, if we don't sell the club in the future, then it's going to create an even bigger wave of protest. So yeah, what happens with that, I don't know. I imagine we're going to be speaking about it in a couple of weeks' time.
It's going to be ongoing, isn't it? 100%.
But yeah, anyway, should we get back to some football?
So obviously the title races, I think it's properly on, but it's still in Arsenal's hands.
I just think it's in City's hands, especially the way that the two
4
teams are
points
playing.
clear with a game in hand.
The form they're in that it just looks like it's in City's hands. They're 4 points in.
Is it 4
City,
points? Sorry.
City have a game in
that.
hand. So if City win, it's 1 point in it. And the way City are on form right now
City
is
again.
impressive. Yeah, it's City that have the game in hand. I just don't see anyone stopping City. I don't see Arsenal stopping City at all.
But that game is... Both teams are going to be elevated by the fact that it's potentially the league title.
Yeah, and I think when it comes down to both teams elevating, I think City at a higher level, and the main thing that gives it to City is their bench. They have way more
Subs.
Depth.
Quality.
depth. Yeah, quality and depth. Their team is just... Arsenal have done a great season. They've done a really good job, but I think we've seen in the last 2 games they're probably not that champion quality that City are.
The only thing is, as well, City have been there before, haven't they?
They know how to do it.
They've had a big game like this where they know the title's on the line.
With us,
Yeah.
like
You
every-
know firsthand about that. So,
But in a way,
go on.
that could almost... The fact that Arsenal is such... They're just kids and Granit Xhaka, really. It could work in their favour. Do you know what I mean? Like
Kids and Granit
it's just
Xhaka.
they're just kids and Granit Xhaka.
They are, most of them are.
It could almost work in their favour in terms of that naivety of, hang on, we've got nothing to lose here.
No, I disagree. Because naivety doesn't win you a title. Quality and champions
But they're not.
win
They're
you a title.
Arsenal are quality.
Arsenal are quality, but we saw it against Liverpool. They should have killed the game off. Saw it against West Ham. They had a penalty, could have killed the game off, didn't do it. It's those moments that lose you a title. And it's still very much on, but I just think it's all in City's hands
It's
right
still
now.
incredibly on. What a chance for Arsenal. You go to Etihad and win. You win the league.
You
I
basically
just
won the
don't
league.
see them winning at the
But
end.
City-
the form
City
that
have
City
still
are
got-
on is insane.
But
They just smashed the Bayern Munich 3-0.
100%. But it's still like unlikely. As much as it's very believable, it's still unlikely that City are going to win every game between now and the end of the season. They could still very realistically drop points.
Yeah.
It always happens.
Yeah. Key injury. Easily.
Well,
happened.
key injury, they've got like 3 players that can come in and sort that out pretty
Yeah,
quickly. They're
yeah.
all right. I think City are just unstoppable right now. And
don't-
we've seen them go through periods of 15 games, 18 games
They're
where
on-
they just can't be stopped.
They're on one of those
And I
runs,
think they're
aren't
going to
they?
go on it, and they're going to have it until the end of the season. Maybe they slip up once, but I can't see Arsenal beating them. And I think that's going to be the main factor.
But
that wins them the
realistically,
title.
If they beat Arsenal and Arsenal don't drop any other points, Arsenal still win the league.
No,
Not if City.
not
win
if
the
City
game.
win their game in hand.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
City-
obviously,
City-
obviously, yeah, of course, they
it's-
play
it's-
again before that, yeah.
It's in City's hands in the fact that
But it isn't,
they can win.
It's
They
in
are,
Arsenal's
they're
hands.
more
It's
likely
both
to
still
win
in
all their
yeah.
games. So
It's Arsenal's to lose.
it's Arsenal's. It's
Arsenal's
not
to
Arsenal's to
lose.
lose because I think either way, it's they've done a good fight. Like they've gone from 5th to almost first now, but I just can't see them. These last 2 performances, I think it's just let them down, and I think that's going to affect the morale of the team, especially since they're so inexperienced. They don't know. I don't know if have any of them been Premier League champions. Jorginho.
Jorginho.
Was he there?
In fact, no,
I don't think he was.
He's not one
He
of those,
wasn't.
is he?
No.
Obviously, Jesus and
Gabby
Zinchenko.
Jesus and Zinchenko, yeah.
I just think Arsenal have to approach this like you offer this situation at the start of the league, start of the season. Just snap your hands off.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And if
Oh,
they're
yeah.
going into a game at the Etihad to win, or even maybe draw. You can win the league.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's an unbelievable
Yeah.
opportunity.
It's
There's
a
there's
huge
no way they go
opportunity,
into it
but-
playing for a draw, though.
No,
No,
not
you
at all.
can't. You can't.
No.
You can't. Here, a way of looking at it, I think is that interesting. Sort of one of them arguments that's swirling around at the minute. If Arsenal lose it and come second, and Man United finish 3rd, but with the trophy they've already won this season, the League Cup, and Arsenal come second with no trophies, who's had a better season?
I think it depends, heavily on context, but also just, I think Arsenal fans have been crying for a season like this since like 2006. They've wanted to actually be like, no, hang on, we're better. Like they've never really had it since like the last 15 years. They've never had a chance to genuinely say we're better than Chelsea, we're better than Tottenham, we're better than most of the league, we're better than United. This season, they've been able to chat their shit all season long. And even if they don't win, I think Arsenal fans are still going to look very fondly on this season.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, the way I'd see it is that if you offered me any time United came second and didn't win a trophy, replace that with them coming third and winning the trophy.
I'm taking the trophy.
I would swap
yeah.
it. I'd swap it 100%. But yeah, I agree. It's all about context, isn't it? And you never know. This season could give Arsenal belief to follow on next season.
And they're now
better things.
They're now title contenders in the Champions League. If they go out and improve the squad, get Declan Rice, get maybe another winger, they could look really unstoppable next year.
That's it. So I think looking at it purely individual season, you'd probably say United, but then on the wider
just because of
context
that
of it
trophy.
all, I'd say it's a massive season for Arsenal because it got to the point where I thought they're never going to ever challenge again, because it always just seemed
they dropped off, haven't
they? Every time, but
it's a banter era, as it's called, isn't it?
That's what the kids call it.
Well, they are a banter club, aren't they? They're still not going to win the title.
They've been. Do you know what? I like Arsenal. I've always prime Wenger Arsenal. The football they used to play was just great. They just scored. They were just so good to watch, and a lot of respect to them as well. Actually, when we played them, a couple of clubs have been fantastic actually over the sort of the Hillsborough anniversary this season. They were great. Arteta and Odegaard laid a wreath at the memorial.
So you see that video in the pub with the Arsenal fans?
Yeah,
silent in the pub?
Arsenal fans observed the minute
Did you see the
silence in the
Chelsea
pub.
programme last night?
No,
It was
did they?
Benzema and Thiago Silva going for a header and said 96 on their back.
That's nice.
See,
That's nice.
yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know what? It's been really. Fulham were great. They played Everton. They laid a wreath. Everton come over. It's been great. But I like. I've got a lot of respect for Arsenal, and they've been getting a lot of grief this week, haven't they? Have you seen the video of the little girl? I don't know if she's won a competition or
I've
something.
not seen this.
She's
I've
stood.
not seen this.
She's
It's
everywhere.
Little girls
Everywhere.
on Twitter, to be honest.
She stood in the tunnel as the players are arriving, off the coach, and she stood there with a dad or whoever holding a shirt, and each player comes up, and they've all got earphones in, they're going into the game, and they all sign the shirt and walk on the tour, and they've been criticised because no one sort of goes, "Oh, hi, are you okay?" Gives her a hug. They all just sign the shirt and walk in. And I was watching it, and they were getting, celebrities were retweeting it this is bang out of order.
Nick Knowles got involved. I was like, fuck off.
He's like, you need to bring her back, and I was straight away that girl has definitely been very well looked after all day by Arsenal. B, a dad put a video. She walked out on the pitch with Odegaard. See, the players they're walking in prior to the game to the dressing room. They've signed their shirt. What more do you want?
They genuinely do have other things to worry about.
Exactly.
They're in a title race.
This is
right
what I mean.
now.
And other fans were going mad about it. And all I could think, and I just started laughing to myself, was if Roy Keane sat on Match of the Day and come out with a story of how 15 years ago, prior to a Manchester derby, he walked in and there was someone who's been flown in from somewhere who's won a competition and it's their absolute one-off dream to meet him, and they're there crying their eyes out, and he just completely blanked them and walked in. And he was like, that's the attitude we had to show. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, mentality monster, yeah. And but at the minute, it's like, they're all scumbags because they didn't speak to her.
I know. It's one of those. I probably would have gone, oh, you're right, But at the end of the day, who fucking cares?
Yeah, who cares?
They got a game to win, and they
She's
didn't do that.
She's got a signed shirt of every player in
Every
the Arsenal
They're
squad.
clearly too worried thinking about her, and they couldn't win the game.
The other thing is, if it's any other sport as well, obviously some footballers are arseholes, but if it's any other sport, like Usain Bolt walks out prior to the 100 metres and someone's holding a thing and he blanks them, is everyone going to be like, it would have took you 2 seconds?
Exactly. Any heck.
That doesn't make sense. What else doesn't make sense is some of the VAR decisions.
That's a great link.
That
Well,
is.
that's what I think.
That's why
Have you got that written down
chair.
somewhere? You can keep that middle chair.
Yeah, it's been really bad, and to be honest, before we go on to individual occasions where it's been awful, I just want a wider moan about the idea of it, and I've decided I'm fully dead against it, and if I could get rid of it tomorrow, I would.
Completely.
Yeah, I'd get rid of it.
My thing is, though, everyone forgets it was so bad before as well. Sure, human error is there, and we take it over all this ridiculous nonsense where it's so inconsistent and so many imbalances, and no one really seems to know how it actually works. But before, it was just nothing. It was just, the ref didn't see. We all move on, get over it.
Exactly, and it's this thing that modern football is now it's now striving to be perfect, and it's like football's not a perfect sport, and it's similar with that. I hate stats. I'm going to sound a bit like Yadar here, but I hate stats like XG to an extent, but other ones in the World Cup there was pressures. receptions off the back line. I'm just like, it's becoming a fucking nerd's paradise, football. And I'm like, it's just a game at the end of the day. It's imperfect game. We don't need this technology that tells someone if someone's like a millimetre offside. It doesn't matter. They're not gaining an advantage from that. It's just if the linesman spots it, he spots it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. You moan about it in the pub after. That's the game.
But it can be done properly. Like it's worked in other countries. It works
everywhere else. The International World Cup VAR was fantastic, I thought. And this is what frustrates me. I like it when it's used properly.
It's very good. When it works, it's very good, and it works better than just like before. Before it was awful. There were so many times where I was like, "This is ridiculous. How can that stand? It just doesn't make sense." And this is supposed to be the solution. And still, every week you're going, "How can that make sense? It doesn't make sense. That's clearly a handball. That's clearly offside." Still, they just can't get it right.
I think there's always going to be this subjectivity with it that I've always had in my head, right, use it, but only if it's really, really clear and obvious. But I'm thinking, who's deciding what's clear and obvious?
And also, if it's there to use it, like to make decisions correct.
I feel like I wouldn't mind moaning about it if you go, like, right, VAR hasn't gave a handball there, although it blatantly, as long as there was complete a uniformed rule set across the game. Offsides and handballs, if there was an actual complete consistent way in which it's looked at, and then it went against me, I'd still have a massive moan, but you couldn't argue with the system because it's consistent.
There's no consistency.
It's the thing that this is a handball one week, next week it's not. That's what drives everyone mental. But I don't know what you do with handball. What would you do, Ollie?
Oh, just give it penalty to Chelsea, probably. I don't know. Seems like the easiest decision to make.
I'd do. I suppose this is subjective though as well, but if it appears intentional, or if it's outside his body line, give it handball.
I think if it's anything like not unnatural positions, just anything not against your body, because it's still a handball. But even if your hands are out here and it hits your hands, you're still interfering.
The issue with that is like if you jump, a natural position to jump, your hands aren't by your side when you jump. Do you know what I mean? You need to. My thing is if it's a shot and it hits a hand, is how close you are to the player shooting. If you're right in front of him and he blasts it and you go, and there's like a fraction of a second before it hits a hand, you're obviously not trying to handball it.
Yeah. Unless he's gone like that, or like that. But if it's by his side,
on target, and it's just, if your hands are by your side, it's different. But if your hands are out here and the shot's on target, it smacks your hand, that should be a penalty, even if you're like an inch away from it.
Do you not think, I saw, this is a dead outside shout, but the likes in like tennis and rugby, where teams have a definitive number of challenges where they can go, hang on, no, check that.
Like flag on the plate.
And then it's checked. Do you think that'd be interesting in like a friendly tournament or something where they go, each team gets maybe 4 or 5 challenges, and you might want to use it for a bad foul, but then
or 2.5 maybe or something.
It's still just 2 minutes tinkering. Like, oh, that was clearly a penalty. The ref hasn't given it, but because we were offside twice when we weren't at the start, we now can't say that should be a penalty.
But then the advantage of that is you can't moan about it, can you?
Stop tinkering. I'm still going to moan about it all the day. Like, what if they changed it so that only 2 decisions can be correct a game? Like, what? I don't know. Too much tinkering.
You were on the. You reckon you should have had a pen at Wolves anyway, don't you?
We should have had a pen at Wolves. Yeah, that was a while ago though. But,
I mean that exact instance.
Rashford shouldn't have scored against City. Mitsamina should have got a penalty. Brighton should have got a penalty against Tottenham. We could go on.
That Brighton Tottenham game was probably the worst.
Well, they got an apology like 2 days later, didn't they?
Consecutive bad decisions in one team's favour. It looked so bad.
It was horrendous.
And I don't believe in conspiracy like they did. Fixed it for Spurs because who gives a shit about Spurs anyway? But yeah, it was bad.
There were shouts. Trent's. It probably was a handball, but
it was a handball.
The VAR decision was that there was too many stages of play between that and the goal. And plus the fact, I don't know if Leeds fans are that arse, she got pumped 6-1 at the end of the day. So.
I saw loads of fuss about that, and I was like, I saw the decision, I was like, yeah, it probably is handball. But
go ahead, it's 5-2 then.
Yeah.
But I think it's just another example of just VAR not working correctly, and that's why there's so much fuss about it. Because it's just every week there's just a major issue.
So would you stick with it?
I'd stick with it. It needs an overhaul, but I wouldn't scrap it. I think it needs clear guides. It needs someone who's actually trained on VAR doing it properly, not just random people sitting in 1 week and then next week they're linesmen. Like, that doesn't work. But we just need an overhaul. We need to take a look at Europe and see how they do it, how it's done at the World Cup, and just make the rules consistent. And if we need to use it each time, fine. It shouldn't be up to the referee's discretion. It should be the guy in the back going, oh, hang on, you've got it wrong there. But, I mean, then you take away power from the ref. Like, it's difficult to solve. I don't have the answer. But we need to overhaul how it works right now. That's clear.
You see that clip of that ref, I think it was in France, where he's mic'd up and you're going to see him explaining the decisions.
Yeah, well, rugby's been doing that for years, and refereeing rugby is really good.
There's an Australian guy that did it in, was it A-League in Australia? And for his final game, and he's a championship ref now, and I think he's due to be promoted to the Prem soon. And I remember listening to him in his final A-League game mic'd up, and it's quality. Like, it's just the insight for football, especially when players are mouthing off as well. And like you hear him say, like, what are you doing? Just move on.
Yeah.
Or that one you're on about, the French ref, there's one where the ref, he bollocks the player for whatever he was doing, and someone on the opposite team comes over and is like, warn him. And he's like, yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It just makes so much. You could just, if you know he's thinking, the ref's thinking, I think it'd help with the sympathy for them.
Or even if he's wrong, but you can hear his process.
Yeah, you could go, oh, okay, I can see why he says that, or he made that decision.
But then there's what was that Liverpool game a few seasons ago? What's his name? The big fella, the big ref. And he was like, he's talking to his assistant about whether it's a penalty, and he's like, the assistant is breaking it down to him as easy as possible. He's like, if there's contact off him there, it's a penalty. If he hasn't touched it, no penalty. And you can see him going, I'm giving the pen. That's what he does. He's right up on that, and the mic picks him up and he goes, I'm giving the pen. And you just think, you've got no idea why you gave that.
Yeah, that's quite funny actually. But because the thing is, because I bet there's some refs, like that ref in France sounded quite articulate and could explain himself quite well. I bet there's some refs that just like,
speaking of refs, Michael Oliver, did you see he was flown because he's in the UEFA elite?
I saw this
refs.
for the Ronaldo
He's
thing.
a Prem ref, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was flown to Saudi Arabia at the weekend to referee the Saudi League top of the table clash.
Why?
I feel like
Just
because you'll get paid bare, bro. You'll get a minute.
Al Nassr versus Al Hilal it was, and Ronaldo put
Ronaldo's
someone in a
doing his
headlock.
Rey Mysterio impression.
Yeah, douche. But
Guess Charles Olivier out, just start rear naked drinking.
as far as VAR though, what Ollie said, to be fair, I think.
But I think, and there's another thing with players getting lippy at the refs. Clearly, all you need to do is just give him a quick elbow in the jaw, and they'll shut up. Like, it's great.
I'd bin it off.
Yeah, I think it was better. The game was just as shit before. I think we need an overhaul. I think we need to do something about it. But I think we need to keep it in some capacity.
I agree. Ollie Watkins, by the way,
Unreal, some player.
What a player! He's absolutely flying. Isn't
Unai
he?
Emery,
as our
especially,
Villa.
though. You kind of got to put the credit on Unai Emery. Like, Watkins is doing amazingly, but it's the way Emery's got him playing. Like, his record now, they're only points behind City and Arsenal. They're the only team that have more points since Emery's come in. And when you look at the comparison to what Gerrard was doing, it's light and day.
He's a top coach, isn't he? And I think he's proven that over his career. And he had a rough time at Arsenal, which I think everyone realises now.
Probably a bit of a cursed time to take that job, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah. He won FA Cup there, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did.
It's all right.
He did okay. But yeah, he's just a top manager.
He was doing incredible at Valencia, winning the Europa League after Europa League.
Unai Emery is half what I structure my belief around about the strength of the Premier League at the minute.
Yeah.
You've got managers like Unai Emery coming in at the time when he took over Villa, mid-table clubs. It's like the pull of the league is insane.
Villa never should have been that bad. They were terrible under Gerrard, and
they were.
That's more on Gerrard's shoulders.
There's things as well that Gerrard, you can see, obviously did get wrong. Like Traore for Villa, he was out on loan under Gerrard, and he's back in the picture now, and he's absolutely flying for them.
Yeah, well, the whole team. John McGinn is just.
John McGinn.
He was just controlling all of Aston Villa's play against Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea mainly controlled the game, but anything good came through John McGinn. Like
he's one of them players, isn't he? That like his performances consistently get him linked to like big six clubs.
Yeah,
but I think he's just
perfect.
Stay there, know your level. You're perfectly.
You're good there.
I think if he goes to one of them, he becomes a squad player, doesn't he? Where he's one of
Probably.
Villa's best players, most important players. The thing I love about Emery and the way he's got Villa playing is that there was this little period, and it's still going on, that teams in and around the bottom half will try and play like really good football, don't get me wrong, Villa playing great football, but it's counter-attacking. It's like they'll give anyone in the league a game. They're not going to go away to City and start passing it around the back. Do you know what I mean? Get like losing 6-0. They'll give anyone a game, and that's what I love about him, to be honest. You know, but I've been wondering if he came in a few weeks earlier, where would they be? Could they be right in that top 4 race?
Interesting, isn't it?
Because I don't think they're quite in the top 4 race as much as people think.
They're definitely in the race. Like, if Tottenham keeps slipping up and Newcastle slip up again, they just beat Newcastle 3-0, who are very much in the 4th place race.
Yeah, I'd never say never, but it's probably slightly too much to ask them to do it. But yeah,
7 wins in the last 8 games. Like, it's impressive stuff. And if teams are slipping,
to be fair, I think they've got to play us and Spurs as well.
Yeah, that's
if they win both
6
of them,
massive points if they win both of them.
So yeah,
But Palace as well are doing all right.
They've got going
under the oldest man alive, Roy Hodgson.
3 oldest managerial stints have all been Roy Hodgson.
yeah,
Let him retire.
They sacked Roy Hodgson. They sacked Roy Hodgson. Bring in Patrick Vieira. Sack Patrick Vieira. Let's bring back Roy Hodgson.
But they're doing all right. They're doing okay.
They destroyed Leeds.
They're definitely safe, aren't they? They're compared to where they were a couple of weeks ago.
What is he just got? Is it a short-term contract he's got for this season?
End of the season, I think.
Is it? They may as well keep him on. If he's down, if he's like, yeah, I'm ready to just keep managing.
Does he still possess the mental capacity to make that decision himself, though?
As much as Joe Biden has any capacity, right? So.
It's about 209, mate.
But it goes to show though, these old top class managers like Neil Warnock's getting
He's at Huddersfield at the end of the season.
He's getting them going. You know?
He was quality when he took over, and he's just come out with the quote of they were like, what can you envision target wise for the end of the season? And he just went, we'll be lucky to make the playoffs. I just think he's fantastic.
Well, you can't buy experience, can you? It's one of the most valuable assets, and you either have it or you don't.
I love to know his secret, because every team he goes to improves.
The fountain of youth, mate. That's
honestly.
Well, Palace's squad is great. Like, Michael Elise is an incredible football player.
Winds me up though. Just celebrate.
Scoring goals. He never celebrates after a goal.
It seems like
it
it
a lot. He doesn't celebrate most of the time. But he's
Just
got a
annoys
hat
me.
trick of assists against Leeds. That is impressive. I was watching him, and he's just, the way he moves on the ball is so fine. The way he shoots his free kick against United was incredible. Like, he is a top quality player. In the next few years, he's going to be dominating at a top side.
Palace is good at that though, aren't they? Palace have got this like template of just technically gifted, fast players.
It's South London, man.
Homegrown, just.
South London just produced so many good football players because of all the 5-a-side pitches there.
Like, is Hackney Marches is
No, it's cages. South London's all cages.
Yeah. Where's doesn't like Palace and that literally just jump all over like Hackney Marshes. The players that have come out with the leagues that run there is insane.
That, yeah.
But here's one for any of the Everton fans listening. Just as we start to round off this week, because this is just hilarious. A behind closed doors friendly. Was it yesterday or the day before? An Everton team consisting of Mason Holgate, Connor Cozy, Yerry Mina, Nathan Patterson, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Tom Davis, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Ellis Sims lost 1-0 to 6th tier National League North side Chester FC.
Amazing.
There we go.
Don't worry, they'll be playing them next year when they get relegated. So good little prep match for them.
Oh, it's not good, that is it? It's not good.
No.
That must kill your ego.
Oh, 100%. I mean, there's obviously more to it in terms of like the level of, they're not. Some of the lads have pointed out they're not playing at full capacity. It's a fitness game, blah blah blah. But you should be beating them, and you
should be winning them. Really, why are you having that game now? Like, you've got so many important games, and you're going, let's play Chesterfield.
Are we Chester?
Sorry.
Are we onto this rapper? By the way, who's apparently a Premier League player.
It's like Eddie or something. Didi, I think his name is.
I have no idea.
It's something like that. Which
Seen
is why
the clip.
One of the conspiracies is that it's Eddie Nketiah, because it sounds quite a lot like him. Eddie Nketiah has had 3 stars in the past, and also if he remixes the guy's name, it's Eddie. Like, it's an anagram of Eddie.
Is it?
Yeah. But here's my other thing: is it actually a football player?
Or is it just someone who's...
Have they just gone, oh mate, this guy has got a mask on, but it's definitely a Premier League football player, and everyone's going, oh, let's listen to this song and try and work it out.
And no one would ever know, would they?
Yeah, it's just some guy just going like...
Has he said himself that I'm a Premier League footballer?
Yeah.
So that's how he said that I'm a Premier League footballer.
This is a Premier League footballer who's done it.
Interesting.
It's weird, the thing that Lewis Hamilton, remember that? There's a song with, I can't remember who it's like, he's a feature on this big song, and it's a tune that loads of people have heard. and it always said feet, and it's this little abbreviation of like 3 letters. And for years, no one knew who it was, but there was rumours that it was Lewis Hamilton. And like 2 years ago, he was like, "Yeah, that was me." He sings on a song. Yeah.
Fair enough.
On that bombshell.
On that bombshell. Well, anyone been in the pictures? Anyone?
I watched the Elvis film first time.
How good is it?
It's really, I really like it.
I think it's one of the best films that's come out
great.
recently.
I think it's really
Austin
good.
Butler is incredible. as
It's
Elvis.
not like it's Baz Luhrmann, isn't it? But it's not like a weird Baz Luhrmann film.
Yeah, it's just.
It kind of jumps around a bit at the start. Like it's a bit confusing to follow the first bit. But I quite like it when films are kind of weird and confusing.
Yeah,
It makes me think a bit,
I love a weird film.
Yeah, me
to be
too.
honest. That makes
I thought it
you
was
think.
really good.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I went to see Super Mario.
Yeah,
Oh,
what is
yeah.
that about then? So what? A lot of
Got a
like.
good cast. Like.
It's a good
fun.
game. To be fair, it's like
It's animated though, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's voice.
Yeah, it's fucking live
But
action
everyone
Super
says,
Mario.
it's got a great cast. I'm like, well,
yeah, but it's still the cast, isn't it?
It's-
It's voice acting. Like.
the Jack Black is fun in it.
Jack
and
Black.
He sings like a song in it as Bowser, and it's in like the
Yeah.
Billboard 100 now or something. But listen, it's a kids' film.
Yeah, I was going to say,
And
I was going to ask you that. I didn't want to
Listen,
upset you.
it's
but-
it's a kids' film, but it's fun. I'm not gonna big it up too much. It is what it is. But like,
It's done really
it's
well
a
at the
laugh.
box
Like
office,
if
though,
you've played like a Mario game before, you watch it and you go, it's cool.
I've seen the clip of like Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah. I might check it out.
There you go. If you take one thing away from this podcast,
I'll wait till it's on Netflix. So
yeah, with it.
I'm
yeah.
alright.
But we're going for a double header this week, lads. We might be back in a few days anyway. Catch
Yeah.
up on what we've missed.
Yeah.
There's a few games this week coming on, isn't there? And then obviously next week is the big title decider. We think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That'll be a
City's in
good
my
game.
eyes. City. I think City can be champions
Do you reckon-
again.
yeah, let's round off.
Most dominant team.
City or Arsenal?
I think City.
City or Arsenal? Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it before. They know how to do it.
Right.
Anyway.
Nice one, lads.
All right.
See you later.
Cheers.
See you later.